Hello, art friends. My name is Fleshwad, and today I have 3 Creepypasta OC stories for you. First off, I want to start by thanking anyone who submitted a Creepypasta OC in the comments. It was, honestly, so hard to choose only 3 OCs. But I did, and so without further ado, let's begin. Our first Creepypasta OC goes by the name Edis, and was written by Spiraled Abyss. Edis wasn't always a monster. She swore on it. She was a good little girl who always followed rules and did anything to earn her mother's approval. Her mother was a bit of a controlling monarch who ran the mansion she lived in. Her mother, Elena, was kind, but after a while her mother became a hardened woman who answered to no one. Edis never knew why. Elena always pressured Edis to strive to be the best, so she could get herself a man that wouldn't leave her like her father did. And so strive Edis would, but this would be her downfall. See, Edis took a special interest in botany. Her idea of growing bigger, prettier plants started to become an obsession. Soon, she bred for invasive species, carnivorous plants the size of Great Danes, leafy greens so big they could make the air around you crystal clear. She never stopped. She let them grow and grow and grow, just to make something to her mother's liking, but they grew too much. And soon, Edis found themselves wrapped up in their own work. It strangled her and mangled her legs. She kicked until she couldn't anymore. So she resorted to biting. She wouldn't go down without a good fight, but it wasn't good enough. She wanted to will it away, but the darkness consumed her, inking her vision and conscience like a frightening squid. Since then, she's been wandering the woods, claiming any victim she finds desperate to please the plants she's a slave to. Desperate to please another controlling figure in her life. The only trace of her is a trail of flowers and a few thorns. Our next OC is named Carlia and was submitted by Ash Tree. Carlia was odd to say the least, compared to the other kids her age. This may have to do with the fact that she was raised out in the countryside, or that her mother was a butcher at the local meat factory, and her father used to work in the military. She knew how to hunt and kill an animal, then butcher it all by herself at the age of 14. After she turned 10, she and her family moved to a bigger city, and she was forced into school. After being homeschooled all her life up until that point, her family still worked in the meat industry, and she was still allowed to go to target practice with her family from time to time. But the normally energetic girl slowly became more and more closed off as time went on. It turns out she had been bullied by her classmates for liking things that weren't girly, like butchering and guns. By the age of 16, Carlia had completely shut out her parents and dressed more feminine, while also pretending to like things other people her age would like video games, sports, which were kind of fun, makeup, and overall just tried to fit into the norm. Unfortunately, nearing the end of the school year, she had gotten into an accident at prom. She had gotten drunk and accidentally said to a guy who was hitting on her that she could easily skin him, butcher him, and sell his meat without any suspicion. This had ticked the guy off, and him and his buddies brought her out to the back to beat her up. They beat her up so much, she ended up in a comatose state. While in that state, she thought she had woken up, only to find that she was in another world, one where the rules were kill or be killed. And so she put herself to the test by surviving. She somehow found a rifle with infinite ammo and an unbreakable machete in this world, helping her with her quest to survive until she found a way out. Despite being in a coma, or so the doctors thought, Carlia's body started to move on its own. She had escaped the hospital after killing the 3 doctors that tried to pin her down and sedate her, despite being asleep. She had found an unlocked barn with a rifle and a machete, picked them up with the ungodly amount of ammo. After that, she went on a killing streak, butchering the people, and she killed and ate them, all while in her bloodied white and black prom dress. In the other world, her senses had been heightened to almost 20 times their original state, making her able to read off movement before it even happened, helping her dodge the alien bullets fired at her. Police had gotten the okay to shoot her down, but nothing worked. She was too damned fast. Despite her hazel eyes being open, they looked spaced out, like she wasn't really there. It made the officers question how she was so quick. It's been about 2 years since she was transported to the other world. The amount of lives she had to take, only to be surrounded by the enemy, when suddenly she fell through the world and woke up from her coma. Her eyes still distanced from reality, but slowly closing in on it. She looked around and found multiple police and military officers around her. Some were dead, others were injured, but many of them were pointing their weapons at her. Her rifle was out of ammo, and her machete had finally given up. She thought that this would be the end. All of that fighting, just to come back and be faced with death. But then she realized what had happened. All those aliens were people. She wasn't in another world, she just thought she was. This conclusion made her smile and laugh. All those delightful kills were human? Had she really killed people all this time? Normal, everyday people? It broke her. She either dies now or continues to fight. And like hell she was going to die now, after so much just to get back. Her stomach rumbled as she looked at the dead bodies around her. They looked so tasty. The officers had come closer in order to try and restrain her. She quickly got out of the corner she was in, grabbing a body on the way. After that event, she never stopped killing, nor did she stop eating her victims. Our last OC's name is Morgan, and it was written by Mars. Most small towns have their share of urban legends and scary stories. Meyerfall was like any other town. We had a story about a cottage in the woods that was passed down from generation to generation. The basic story is that there was a broken down cottage somewhere in the woods behind an old convenience store. If you entered the cottage at exactly 12:32 a.m., you'd be greeted by her. She was nicknamed Morgan throughout the town, and no one really knew much about her. Most of the people who entered the house, though, would run out screaming bloody murder. During the next couple days, their mental state would rapidly deteriorate, until they had to be admitted to a hospital or asylum for some. They recovered eventually, but they would always talk about seeing her everywhere. In the hallway, in their rooms, in the bathroom. You get the picture. My cousin was one of these patients. I visited her every so often and tried to help her. On one particular day I visited, I saw something too. We were sitting on her bed, looking out the window. In the very corner of the courtyard, I could see someone standing there. I didn't think much of it until my cousin started shaking me and pointing at it. My stomach dropped. Standing there, staring right at us, was a tall, sickly-looking woman. Her hair was matted and torn, and her feet were bare. It was in the middle of the summer, and the ground outside was so hot you could cook an egg on it. I ran out of the room, trying to find a doctor, anyone that could help. By the time we got back to the hospital room, my cousin was gone. There was no trace of her even getting up, besides the smallest crack in the window. I haven't seen her since, but I'm worried. I've been seeing things for the past few weeks and I feel like I'm losing my mind. I've tried to shake off the feeling, but I know she's there, hiding in the darkness of my room, waiting for me to be alone. My boyfriend doesn't believe me. He thinks it's the trauma of losing my cousin like that. I know it's not. And I know one day he'll wake up and I will be gone. If you're reading this, I need you to understand. If you hear the legend of the cottage, never try to find it. If one of your friends or family members does and ends up in the hospital, do not visit them. I know it sounds easier than it is, but you need to be safe. I'm going to post this, then log out of my computer. I can hear something in the corner of my room, and I'm tired of running. Tell my boyfriend what happened and that I love him. And that was all of the OCs I have for you in this video. The next OC theme is open theme again. No theme, just comment your characters down below. I do think, however, that the next video I will pull from Reddit versus this video. So if you commented on my Reddit, which a lot of you did, I was actually kind of surprised. And there was some very creepy OCs over there. You guys are just like so talented. If I drew your OC, I hope you like it. One thing I do want to say is that whenever I do this, I'm like pulling multiple OCs, reading multiple stories, like not just reading the ones that I pick, but I read every story. So sometimes I get details a little mixed up. I try to go back and like do the best that I can. But if I did forget something like on the drawing or made something different than what it should have been, I do apologize. But it's free art, so I hope that you like it if I drew your OC. And I hope that you liked the narration as well. And if I didn't pick your OC this time, there's always a next time. There's gonna be so many of these videos because you guys have so many cool OCs. Like, I need to draw all of them. With that being said, please make sure to leave a like if you liked the art and the stories. Subscribe if you haven't. Comment your stories down below, or comment whatever you want, it really helps. And that's all for this video. Until the next one. Bye.